feels like a generation ago, on February 10th of this year, Boon Jong Ho made history with his film Parasite, becoming the first international movie to win the Best Picture award. It caused some outrage with some people, but the general consensus was that Parasite deserved to win Best Picture. That is because the film discusses the sheer gaps between each class of society within South Korea. But because the subject is very universal, people all over the world could understand the importance of Parasite and what it discusses. The gap between the elites, working class and the poor is clear to see, and the film shows that with the three families. The rich, represented by Mr. Park and his family, the working class represented by the Key family, and then the even poorer represented by Moon Gwang and her husband. This story of the gap between each class becomes clear, and it is shown through the design of the household, streets and even the clothing worn by the characters. Mr. Park's house is built at the top of a hill, away from what is underneath them, the poor. They have wardrobes bigger than the Key's house, and this disparity is there to be seen in Parasite. But that's not why I want to talk about the movie, because what I think Parasite does very well is its positioning between who to sympathise with. A movie with this kind of subject about the inequality between the rich and the poor can push an agenda on the audience, that the rich are the problems and we should all blame them. That route of telling this story would be too one-dimensional because life isn't like that. Being rich doesn't make you an evil corporate money grabber, and being poor doesn't make you the good guy who just couldn't get any luck. That's not how life works. Good guys get rich and bad guys are also poor. There isn't a bias of who gets the luck in life. And Parasite follows that belief because in essence the film doesn't have good guys or bad guys, they just have people surviving in the position they have been put in. So how does Bong Jong Ho balance that fine line and make us the audience sympathetic with everyone and also against everyone? He does it in how he represents each class, the rich, the poor and the even poorer. They all face difficulties that are on a different scale to each other. A disaster for Mr. Park's family is that it rains and they cannot go on their tenting trip, but the Key family, that same rain means their street floods, causing their house to also flood. It is about perspective of one's life and situations. Does that mean that the rich family should not be allowed to moan about their current lifestyle? No. It means that because they do not have an understanding of the other side, the poorer towns, they don't think about the consequences the rain can have on poorer families. But what Boon Jong Ho does brilliantly is that he puts the Key household in that same scenario as the rich family. The Key family, whilst getting drunk in the rich house, comment how great it is that it is raining and them all being inside.
나름 운치가 있네. 정원에는 비가 우린 위스키를.
Even they become null to the poor lifestyle, a lifestyle they currently live in. It is because of perspective. They only feel the damage the rain causes when it affects them, but if it doesn't, they are as clueless as the rich. Boon Jong Ho makes us aware of how selfish we all are and that we don't really care until it affects us. When it rains heavily outside, I don't think about people in lesser circumstances. I enjoy the rain and being inside. I am as ignorant as the Park family or the Key family. And then you get the situation of how the Key family got their jobs. They swindled their way into the rich family by creating lies and deceiving people. Yet we are wired to be sympathetic towards them due to their lifestyle. And so we watch them create their plan and ruin other people's lives, and then we laugh at the people being sacked, from the driver called Joon to the maid Moon Gwang. Again, we are being ignorant to other people's livelihood. But then Boon Jong Ho adds the scene where the dad asks whether the young driver Yoon has gotten another job.
기우야, 그 시기에 그 윤기사 윤씨 맞지? 원래 이 집 운전기사하던 놈.
네, 윤기사.
그 친구는 지금 다른 데서 일하고 있겠지? 일자리 구해가지고.
There is some recognition of their actions, but the consequences of others isn't their priority. The daughter even states a similar sentiment.
우리가 제일 문제잖아. 우리 걱정만 하면 되잖아. 어?
They become a family that solely cares for themselves because that's how they have to live life.
원래 알바는 자르세요. 해고 페널티를 주시라고.
내일 정식으로다가 면접 보러 가겠습니다. 몇 시가 좋을지.
Otherwise, they become trapped in the world of poverty. A world that doesn't care much for them and that tries to keep families like them down. Talent and passion won't get you into college. Money does.
기정이도 그냥 집에 있냐? 학원 안 가고?
학원을 안 가는 게 아니라 못 가는 거죠.
So it doesn't matter if the daughter Kim Jong is talented at arts. If the family has no money, she can't get into college. So they have to adapt and become ruthless. They don't do it because it is all fun and games. They do it because it becomes the only way for them to get jobs. Is it bad that they got Joon and Moon Gwang sacked? Of course it is, but it becomes a point of desperation to get their lives together. It is easy to be outraged when the rich stamp all over the poor, but what Parasite shows us is that the poor fuck over the even poorer. Our instinct is to survive at all costs, and that's what the key family does. So the question becomes, who is right, who is wrong, or is everyone as bad as each other? The easy option is to see the rich family as the villains because they are the rich elites who do not share their wealth with the poor. But in Parasite, the rich family becomes the one I sympathise the most with by the end of the movie. Throughout the film, that family has never crossed the line. They gave the key family jobs, they sacked their former staff in respectful ways and want the best for their children. The only thing they did that seemed disrespectful is that they are unaware of outside their bubble. They don't do public transport like everyone else.
가끔 그 지하철 타면 나는 냄새 있어. 그런 거랑 비슷해.
몰라 난 너무 오래돼서 지하철 타본 지.
And they don't shop in the same stores, so they put everyone else that is not in the same class as them as one big separate pile. And this is primarily shown by the actions of the rich dad Dong-yik, who near the middle of the movie complains to his wife that the poor dad, Ki-taek, smells strange, and then by the end through the actions of the rich dad, that same smell becomes on the same level as the dead. Which is seen by Taek as the rich saying that the poor are on the same level as the dead, in essence worthless. And even then, the actions of Taek to kill Don-ik was obscene, and I don't think it was a personal motive from him because later on we see him apologise to a picture of Don-ik, Mr. Park. I think it was Taek fed up in general at being looked down to. Ultimately, he lost his cool. Then we look at the actions of the Key family as a whole. As I said earlier, that family is deceitful and selfish. They only look after themselves and take advantage of the rich mum's simplicity. They get 2 people sacked and look the other way, and eventually they killed 3 people, Don-ik, Moon Gwang and her husband. And then finally we get Moon Gwang, whose husband was in a lot of debt and instead of facing the consequences, ran in hiding. None of the families become our heroes of the story. That's because we all have problems and no one is perfect. We look down on people, we lie to get our own way, and we try and avoid consequences. Parasite is about the flaws of being in each class. This imperfect system that forces everyone below a wealthy standard to fight their way to the top, and once at the top they forget about the harsh reality of being a poor citizen and the cycle continues. What I think the movie represents is what the stone represents. At the beginning of Parasite, Ki-woo's friend comes over and gives him a stone. This stone represents wealth, and in the end that stone becomes a curse, because being wealthy isn't like a fairy tale. The rich, the poor, and the even poorer are all the same, fighting to survive to either stay where they are or to fight their way to the top, toppling over whoever is in front of them. In Parasite there aren't any winners or losers, just people surviving the best they can. And I want to end with a snippet from George Orwell's 1984 that I think summarises Parasite's representation of class in a nutshell. There have been 3 kinds of people in the world: the high, the middle, and the low. The aim of the high is to remain where they are. The aim of the middle is to change places with the high. The aim of the low is to abolish all distinctions and create a society in which all men shall be equal.